So when we have fractions in this particular form, they're called mixed numbers. They're made up of a whole number and a fraction. The whole number is written bigger. So please take care about how you lay your numbers out so that you know what you're dealing with. So to add these two together, I suppose there's two ways. One way is to convert them first to a format which is much easier to deal with, which is a top-heavy fraction, and the other is to rethink the way we look at mixed numbers. So we'll go with the most popular or common way to do that, which is first of all make a conversion to top-heavy fractions. Now you can find the video on this on my YouTube channel. Not a problem. I'll go through it very quickly here. You take the whole number and you multiply it by the denominator, and then you add the numerator. This value that you just calculated gives you the numerator of your top-heavy fraction, and that's not going into detail. That's just the quick way of doing it. So 1 times 4 plus 1 is 5, and we keep the same denominator as we did before. The second fraction, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25, keeping the same denominator. We now have the issue of having two fractions with different denominators. All we need to do is convert one. Now you don't always have to multiply the 4 by the 8. You don't need to change both. You could just change one if that's necessary. If we look at this one, if we times it by 2, we'll get 8 on the bottom. That's enough. Make sure we do the same to the top, and we'll rewrite the question and in terms of what we've just done to change it. And that's going to be 5 times 2, which is 10, 2 times 4, which is 8. And the other fraction remains the same. We didn't change it. Okay, now you've got this common denominator, which is 8 in both. That means we're talking in eighths. We could just add them together, and we get 35 over 8. There's nothing wrong with that as an answer. That is a numerical answer. It is exact, and you can give that as an answer generally. It's common to change it back to a mixed number. It's good to put it in a decimal. Why do you think that it's good to change it back to a mixed number or decimal? And it's not because you like decimals more or anything really, but it's so that you could see the size of so it's obvious of what the size of the number is. 35 over 8 doesn't really tell you much about the size. It's a little bit abstract. So let's convert it and show you what I mean. 8s go into 35 4 times. So we've got 4 wholes. And then we have a remainder of 3, because 8 times 4 is 32. So the remainder goes here. And we have the same denominator. There's a video I did on converting to mixed numbers that you can check out. So 4 3/8 is our final answer, and you can see more of it in terms of the size. It's 4 wholes and a little bit. That little bit is just under half, because if it was half, it would be 4 over 8. Now the second way of dealing with these mixed numbers, I guess, is some way that can be quicker. Just see what you like. This second method is more prone to errors because, how could I put it? This step here, if I'm just highlighting it, this step here is a way of simplifying the original question to just 2 straightforward fractions. In that case, the question is more simple. If the way that we're about to do it, it splits it into 4 parts. So there are more parts, more things to go wrong. Let's put our old answer into a box so we know what we're aiming for. When I think about the fraction 1 and a quarter, 1 and a quarter, I can write it like this. It's 1 and a quarter. This would be the equivalent expression. 1 plus a quarter would give me that. And then if I'm adding the other mixed number, which is 3 and 1/8, I have 4 parts. Now you don't need to write this out as I'm doing it, because you can clearly see these numbers without having to write them separate. But if we group them together now, we have some whole numbers on the left, which comes to 4, and we've got some fractions on the right. And the problem with these fractions is they need to be they need to have the same denominator. Well, that's fine, they always do, even in the other method that we did. So let's just convert them as appropriate. We'll times this one by 2 so that they both have 8. And what that means is going forward we'll have 2 over 8 plus 1 over 8. And this will leave us with 4 plus 3 over 8. Now in the same way that we added that addition symbol here before, we can just get rid of that. And we have 4 and 3/8. And hopefully you can see that that is the same as our answer on the left, giving us the confidence that this method has worked. And there's no real way to say that one is better than the other. It depends how quickly you want to do it, how you see it as well.